All right, another episode. Excuse me, if you caught the last one, we got her started. Still got a little ways to go though. Not a lot though, but kind of go over the couple little things that I've done this weekend. I only worked on the truck one day. The other day I ended up meeting up with a guy to get some AEV high mark fender flares. So couldn't pass up a deal. Pick those up. Probably will not install those for a little while. I'll just store them away. These tires are still pretty new. So kind of want to wear out the 33s, and then once they start getting down a little, we'll throw the high marks on and get her ready for some 35s. If you caught I think the first video where I kind of go over the whole build and kind of my future plans and everything, I kind of hit on that's my future kind of goal is 35s, AEV high marks, relentless hybrid. So nice when I could pick up some used parts. Actually, it was brand new in the box, but at a reduced rate to kind of let the build proceed. Probably be a little while before I get the relentless bumper. But anyways, let's go on to kind of what I did this weekend. So you can kind of see in here this rubber piece here, that's the isolator. Went ahead and started it again, let it run for about a minute. Pulled the intake manifold, and my shop towel that was under there was dry. So I think the new fuel line fixed that. So don't seem to have a fuel leak anymore, which is good. Went ahead and reinstalled it, torqued it down, got everything plugged in, and all of the locks are locked now. Seem to be dropping some tools. Okay. So, another thing, I've got the battery tied down. Hooked all that back up. So that's mounted for good. Mounted my little mount here. Kind of moves a little bit more than I would like it to. But I'm talking with them about one thing, this thing doesn't line up, so we're working through that. Hopefully if that lines up better, maybe this holds a little better here. If not, I may add a washer or something, but I'm going to double check it when I get the headlight in, because part of the headlight tab mounts here, so maybe that kind of stabilizes this a little. We'll see, but I've got this on. I've got my bracket for my catch can. Redid the vacuum to the catch can, so that's all done. Trying to remember if I covered in the last video about the AC system. So if not, I'll cover it again. What the hell. So got the new lines in there. I ran a vacuum test on them. It failed miserably. Spent about 2 hours kind of going over my new lines that I had built, checking those over, and ended up finding out that the line down here, this one, I had forgot to put the new O-ring on there. So when I was building this line, that's, if you remember, that's the factory Colorado connector. When I had taken that off and was crimping it, I had removed the seal so that I wouldn't lose it, and I ended up forgetting to reinstall it. So took stuff apart, figured that out, put the new seal in there, got everything tightened down, did another pressure test, and I actually held it in I held it in vacuum for 2 days and didn't lose any. So AC system's good. I still do have to pull about a 2 hour vacuum on that just to dry it out. those who aren't familiar with AC systems. So anytime it's open, moisture gets in there. I did put a new AC condenser. So the dryer, which is located right here, you can see the silver cap. If you open it up, it's a good idea to replace the dryer, but I replaced the entire AC condenser. And then I'll pull it in vacuum for about 2 hours. Hopefully dry the rest of the system out. And then once we do that, I'll go ahead and put oil. I've got an oil syringe that hooks up to one of the ports. We'll put in the correct oil, correct amount, and then we'll get that sucker charged with some Freon. Probably be a little while before I get to that though. But I wanted to make sure that it held vacuum so that we know that's good. I still don't have the belts installed. I'll probably install those after I do the exhaust. So getting back to the exhaust. So I discussed that last week. Let me just say my welder setup is not working as I was hoping it would. I do have a little bit of it tacked in there, but the setup I have is just, it's not working very well. So I ended up hiring a mobile welder. He's supposed to be here next weekend. So next weekend, the goal is to build the entire exhaust. I do have a little bit of it tacked up. Hopefully cleaning up my horrible tack welds, we'll be able to just weld that up. So shouldn't be too bad. The hardest part is going to be making the Y setup and getting it to kind of clear the front drive shaft, wrap underneath the trans how I want it. I'm trying to make it to where the pipe that goes underneath the trans pan can be removed so that I can do servicing of the trans without having to pull half the exhaust off. It'll just be a couple V-band clamps. Drop that pipe. I can pull the pan for the transmission, put that pipe back in, and we're good to go. So that's going to be the goal next weekend. I'll be working with the mobile welder I hired, and we'll hopefully knock this out in one day. We'll see how that goes. When I did let it run, I did check around. I don't see any oil issues. Doesn't appear to be leaking. I've checked the oil. It's still good. I think with the pan setup, we're looking at 5 quarts. It's full. I think I'm comfortable with that. That'd be nice. Save a quart of oil. But yeah, it seems to be running good. It's, it's awfully loud as hell, but I don't hear any abnormal ticking or anything like that. So it's looking like I used plenty of assembly lube there when I broke this motor down. So looking good there. Let me see if I can get under here. So I replaced the fitting for the transmission cooler line. Hopefully, I haven't seen anything drip out of it, but hopefully we get that done. You can see my horrible tacks there on the cat. But we'll get that fixed up by an expert, because like I've said in previous videos, I am no welder. It's the one thing I've not really been able to do or really got into. Hoping to change that. I'd like to do another project after this, and kind of before I get into that, work on some welding skills. But anyways, so the crossover pipe, my plan is to have the cat kind of come down over there. It'll end up being next to the front drive shaft, and then we're going to have our crossover pipe underneath the trans pan. It will sit lower than the Colorado one, which also means it will be lower than the cross member. Not by much, but it will be lower. Done some kind of measurements. We'll see where it sits, but I'm hoping that even with it hanging lower, it will still clear. So what I'm planning on doing is I think I'm going to end up with the AAV skid package. I was looking at potentially doing the CBI, but I think with the way the crossbars are, I'd really like to leave this transmission open for some airflow. So I'm gonna end up running that with the bars. I think we're gonna clear that. I think those will be easier to mod too if I do have to do something to get clearance. But looking at the angles of them and some photos, I think that we're gonna be good using those with this type of setup. My only concern is whether the transfer case skid will clear the transfer case. We'll see. But yeah, that's on the list of things to purchase. I'll probably get that towards the end of the year. I don't plan to do any extreme off-roading for a little bit. I kind of want to work out the bugs, make sure everything's running good. Probably take a trip or two with no off-roading, just to make sure everything's good. I don't have any clearance issues, nothing rubs, breaking the gears. But yeah, we'll go through that, and probably the beginning of next year I'll order the skids, and we'll get into that and kind of see what kind of issues we're going to have. Obviously this skid will be fine. Nothing hangs lower there. Everything there is still pretty factory. It will have to be removed to change the oil, which is a little bit of a bummer, but hey, I'm not complaining. I think that's pretty much it. Kind of a short one since I've only really done one day of work, and really don't have much left. I mean, now that we fixed those two leaks, yeah, there's not really much left. Once we get this exhaust welded up, that pretty much concludes the swap. Like I said, just belts put on, fill it up with coolant. I'll have to drop the pan. I'm going to put some fresh transmission fluid in there like I discussed in the last video. It's probably at least a quart or two low right now, just because of not having the oil cooler on, and also me replacing that fitting. I ended up losing probably about a half a quart just pulling that line off. But yeah, I do have, so I don't know if I covered this with the first start video, but I can get it started and running, but it is in restricted performance. I have a bunch of security lights. Most of those are likely because I can't get the immobilizer relearn to take with the ECM. Not really sure why. I followed the steps. Just something is not communicating. One of the things is when I was talking to Current is they usually do a new ECU, and they do the flash with a brand new one, and I'm using a used one. So I ended up finding a new one. I've got that coming. I'm going to try a couple more things with this. Once I get everything hooked up, I'm going to reprogram that again, do a clean wipe to get rid of all the codes, because before I had so much stuff disconnected that I had codes. I mean, the dash lit up like a Christmas tree. But We'll try that wiped with everything plugged in and connected. And then we'll try the immobilizer again. If that doesn't work, I'll have the new ECM to do exactly how current does it. And then we'll go from there. That's pretty much the last step. I'll cover that in the next video. I'll do the exhaust. And hopefully be able to finish up the programming, and then I'll do a video kind of going over the wrap up. Oh, I don't remember. Did I cover? I installed the catch can. See, I've got that all plumbed in. I think I did already cover that. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. Oh, I did put the hood back on. It's still dirty from mudding, but we'll get her cleaned up. The plan is once I'm done with this and I can actually move it, I'm going to do a full detail with a paint correction and probably do a ceramic coat again. I did use some of that sea quartz or whatever it was. That stuff's horrible. Doesn't work that well. So my plan is to do it again, but with G-Technique right there. G-Technique. But yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that once we get this thing done and it's running. My plan is to hopefully have this wrapped up next weekend, and then the weekend after I can pull the front diff, which that'll be Labor Day weekend. So that'll give me a 3-day weekend to pull the front diff and re-gear at least the front diff. That'll be the hardest one because it actually has to come out of the truck. So if I can get that done Labor Day weekend, my ultimate goal would be to do the front and the rear. But we'll see what happens with time. Not sure if the girlfriend wants to go anywhere for Labor Day, but we'll see. But yeah, if I can get the front one done, I'll be happy with that. And then the next weekend I can do the rear, re-gear that, put the new leaves on, and then we're good. We're going to start driving this thing around, and I'll get some videos kind of driving around, see how she runs, see how she idles. Probably no kind of ripping on her right away just because I'll have to do the break-in cycle for the gears. But once we get those suckers broke in and we get our fluid changed and we're all good, we'll get a couple rip shots. Might end up going to 35s a lot sooner depending on how much those tires spin, but we'll go from there. Like always, if you got any questions, post them up in the comments or send them to me, and I'll cover them in another video or in the comments. See you guys on the next one.